Let's take you through the latest on the emergency situation which is unfolding in New South Wales. Significant rain is still falling across much of the state's east, leading to major flooding. Along the Hawkesbury River at North Richmond, where the water level is rising, this has triggered an evacuation order for low-lying areas in Western Sydney.
Meanwhile, evacuation orders are at multiple locations on the mid-north coast remain in place, with authorities concerned by more heavy rain predicted this afternoon.
Emergency services have responded to hundreds of calls for help overnight, and the Queensland Premier has just announced that crews from her state will be heading south to help with the flood assistance.
There are also serious concerns for the community surrounding Warragamba Dam after it started overflowing. Sydney's main water source spilled over for the first time in 5 years after yesterday's heavy rainfall.
Authorities are especially worried about the situation in the nearby Hawkesbury-Nepean Valley, which has one of Australia's highest flood danger levels.
The wild weather is expected to begin easing tonight. The Bureau says that while the system will dissipate, that will not be the end of the rain for a few days.
Well, we've got reporters across the affected regions this morning from Sydney's northwest, where some residents are now under evacuation orders, up to Coffs Harbour in the state's mid-north coast.
Later this hour, we will go to Port Macquarie, where we've seen some of the worst flooding. We'll also be getting the latest from the Hunter Valley, where residents are starting to assess the damage.
So let's check in with our reporters on the ground. Alison Zhao is in Windsor, northwest of Sydney, and Claudia Jambor is in Coffs Harbour. Let's go first to Alison. Take us through the evacuation orders there.
Well, parts of Sydney's northwest have been ordered to evacuate, and that's because of the significant flood risk here on the Hawkesbury River. We're on the banks of the Hawkesbury River, and it is definitely overflowing. The water is above the usual level, as you can tell, and it's picking up trees, branches, logs, and it's bringing it with the force of the water towards the Windsor Bridge, which is about 500 metres downstream. Now, we were at Windsor Bridge earlier, and that bridge has been closed. The water level there is just about to hit the top of the bridge, the underside of the bridge, and that is causing significant risk to the community. And of course, many roads and bridges around here have been closed earlier. We were at the Yarramundi Bridge, as well as the bridge that connects Richmond and North Richmond. Now, the evacuation order has been issued at around 2:30 this morning for low-lying areas of North Richmond, Gronos Point, Pitt Town Bottoms, Pitt Town North, and Cornwallis. We were at a road that leads to Cornwallis earlier, and that used to have a small bridge called John Rickety's Bridge. It is now underwater, and there is a speed sign that is pretty much submerged. So there is significant flooding. We were obviously not able to stay at that other location because of the significant risk. And of course, people have been told to evacuate to two evacuation hubs, being the Richmond Club and the North Richmond Community Centre. Freeman's Reach and Agnes Banks were also told later in the morning to evacuate.
Alison, how many calls has the SES received overnight?
The SES says it's received about 600 calls overnight and completed about 66 flood rescues. They say that since the beginning of this weather event, since Thursday, that they have fielded 6,000 calls. And obviously this has put a lot of pressure on those emergency services who have had to work and cope with this extra demand. That includes the police as well, who say they undertook a rescue operation for two bushwalkers who got stuck in the Blue Mountains area. And of course, the lower Blue Mountains area was one of the worst hit by that deluge yesterday in the rain.
Well, we're now going to go to Coffs Harbour, where Claudia Jambor is standing by. And as we understand it, the search for a missing bodyboarder has resumed there. Claudia, what's the latest?
Well, the search is actually being delayed now, given, as you can see, the weather has worsened. The surf conditions, I don't know how much you can see behind me, are extremely treacherous. There's gusty winds, and this rain is getting heavier by the minute. So police have made the decision to delay the search for now. Earlier this morning, there was reports of bodyboard was sighted here at North Wall Beach. However, police say at this stage that may have been a false alarm, as the floods that we are experiencing in this region have brought a lot of debris onto our beaches, and it turned out that there was lots of oyster crates being washed up. So that search is still ongoing. However, police don't actually have reports of a missing person at this stage, but these reports of missing swimmers and bodyboarders are taken extremely seriously. So police are urging anyone with information or who may have seen anything yesterday afternoon when that bodyboarder was reported to have gone underwater and failed to resurface to call authorities.
And Claudia, are these hazardous conditions expected to continue today?
Yes, this low pressure system is coming through, and it's forecast that there might be up to 200 millimetres fall across the Coffs Coast. We don't know where. These falls are appearing to be quite localised. Coffs Harbour has had roughly about 40 millimetres of rain in the past 24 hours, but just half an hour south in Nambucca Heads, they've had about 350 mils at one of the stations there. So it's very wet. Heavy rain is expected to continue with gusty winds, and it could be life-threatening according to the BOM, with flash flooding also expected. All
right, that's Claudia Jabour there reporting for us from Coffs Harbour. We also heard from Alison Zhao there from Windsor. Thank you to you both and stay safe.
Well, the wild weather that has been battering the Sydney area and eastern parts of New South Wales is expected to ease off by tonight. The Bureau of Meteorology says the system will dissipate, but that won't be the end of the rain, and heavy downpours are expected to continue in the coming days.
Jonathan Howe is a senior meteorologist with the Bureau of Meteorology and says that the conditions are very dangerous.
These really continued for New South Wales overnight, and Saturday into this morning, the heaviest falls we saw through the Hunter, the Sydney Metropolitan, the Blue Mountains, and down through the Illawarra as well, where we saw widespread 50 to 120 millimetres. The highest falls are down just to the southwest of Sydney at Picton and Oakdale, picking up close to 160 millimetres so far. But many suburbs across Sydney did pick up more than 100 millimetres, including the CBD, the airport, Olympic Park and Marrickville as well. And at Warragamba Dam, we did see 135 millimetres at the gauge there. And the rain is still continuing this morning with multiple flood warnings, including for the Hawkesbury River. So dangerous conditions aren't over just yet.
All right, that being the case, take us through what we can expect then over the next few days or so.
Yeah, so for the rest of Sunday, our concern is really going to be across the mid-north coast, where rain is really going to ramp up again this afternoon. And then we are also going to see heavy falls through Western Sydney and the Blue Mountains and down through the Illawarra as well. We are expecting generally 50 to 100 millimetres, but some places could get as much as 200 millimetres. And the weather warning has been extended, so it does reach all the way from Wollongong up into the Queensland border for heavy rainfall. And we are really going to see conditions get quite dangerous across western parts of Sydney. We have seen the Hawkesbury River at North Richmond just tick over the major flood level, and there is possible major flooding further downstream as well. And we do have major flooding across the Gloucester and Madding River, and we could see some more flood warnings issued today because catchments are just so saturated, and any other rainfall that does fall basically just becomes runoff and goes straight into the river systems.
One very interesting event happened in Chester Hill yesterday. There was a mini tornado. Are we expecting more of that?
Yes, it's not just the rain which is causing the devastation, it's pretty strong winds as well. The event we did see in the suburbs of Sydney yesterday was a very localised event. What did unfortunately cause quite a bit of damage, and we have seen some pretty strong wind gusts, mainly about the ranges up to 95-100 kilometres an hour across the southern ranges of New South Wales. The good news is that those kind of strong winds aren't really expected to be widespread. We do see, I guess, these really strong winds in these coastal trough situations, which do generate, I guess, strong seas as well. So just a general note to people, just to really take care, not just on the roads, but also if you're out, there could be some trees and other, I guess, bit of debris flying around as well.
And of course, with these strong winds, there would be some dangerous surf conditions as well.
Yeah, that's right. So we do have hazardous surf conditions for much of the New South Wales coast. Again, it's a pretty dangerous situation, so do advise people just to really take care and try to avoid going out to the water, because the surf conditions can be quite a bit more dangerous and powerful than they do appear to be from the land.
So the main warning here, Jonathan, is to stay indoors as much as possible. When will it be safe to leave our homes?
Yeah, so for the next 48 hours at least, we are expecting this pretty steady rainfall with some pockets of pretty heavy falls as well through the mid-north coast and through the Blue Mountains, as I mentioned. But there is another big event coming from the tropical north Monday night into Tuesday. So we are already seeing some warnings across southern parts of the Northern Territory this morning, and we're going to see some light rain push into northwestern parts of New South Wales. It's out towards about Burke this afternoon and really ramping up into tomorrow. So we could see some pretty good thunderstorms across northern inland parts of New South Wales, places like Nyngan and down up towards the Queensland border, and that's going to combine with this coastal trough, and we could see quite an explosion of rain and thunderstorms across eastern New South Wales again late into Monday, more likely into Tuesday, and it will even spread into eastern parts of Victoria as well through Tuesday. So we aren't going to see any easing until probably Wednesday, and rivers will still run quite high into late next week as well. So quite a few more dangerous weather to come.